Hello and many thanks for joining us on NTA International News at 7. I am Abdul Malik Adio. First, the headlines. United Nations condemns killing of 4 humanitarian workers by Boko Haram terrorists. Federal government to boost local production of sugar to cut down importation. EFCC says current marking of property of former Abia State Governor Aji Uzokalu is to avert dissipation. The longest United Nations climate talks on record finally ended in Madrid with a compromise deal. After 2 extra days and nights of negotiations, delegates finally agree a deal that will see new improved carbon-cutting plans on the table by the time of COP26 in Glasgow next year. All parties will need to address the gap between what the science says is necessary to avoid dangerous climate change. Decisions on other issues, including the question of carbon market, have been delayed till next year. Scientists say the world is now nearly 1 degree Celsius warmer than it was before the widespread industrialization. Now, the United Nations has condemned the murder of 4 AIDS workers last week by the Boko Haram terrorist group in northeast Nigeria. The United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator in Nigeria said the international community was saddened by the killing capable of jeopardizing access to humanitarian support in the region. The United Nations agency therefore demands the immediate release of an aid worker who is still under captivity by the terrorist group. Now to security matters, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, has reaffirmed the readiness of the Air Force in maintaining and employing air power operations in fulfillment of the national defense and security tasks. He stated this during the graduation of participants of Corps 5 2019 Air Force War College, Makadi. Charles Alba reports that the Minister of Defense, who was represented by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olonishakin, was guest of honor at the event.
War College has continued to develop the capacity of military officers in operational planning and employment of air power to counter insurgencies, terrorism, and other criminal acts that are threatening the peace and unity of Nigeria. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, indicated that the training of military officers at the War College has provided capacity for tackling insecurity with effective air power strategies.
Let us be reminded that nations that wish to project military power must equip and structure their air forces to effectively apply air power in a variety of roles.
Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olonishakin, while delivering the Ministers of Defense's message, advised the military to maintain high level of integrity and professionalism in the discharge of their legitimate mandate.
Air Force has been playing significant and crucial roles in the ongoing counterinsurgency and counterterrorism operation.
Out of the 20 graduates of the course, Wing Commander Emmanuel Ogbene, who clinched the Best All-Round Award, expressed optimism at using the experience gained to bear on effective operations. The occasion also featured the unveiling of the Air Force Maiden magazine and awards to designated officers and induction of the 20 graduates into the fellowship of the Air Force War College. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Now to trade and investment, the Minister of Trade and Investment, Adeni Adebayo, says Nigeria is on her way to self-sufficiency in sugar production. The minister who toured sugarcane plantations in Niger, Kwara and Adamawa State says more support will be given to industrialists willing to invest in sugarcane value chain. Musa Babaliu reports.
Nigeria is currently producing only 30% of sugar the citizens consume, with importation closing the deficit. Record of the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that out of the 5.61 million metric tons demand of sugar, local industries produce less than 100,000 metric tons. As he toured sugarcane plantations in the country, Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, hopes that the importation will drop drastically in few years to come. He assures investors that the policy and programs of the federal government guarantee the security of their investment.
This is something to do with agriculture. You just don't wake up and do, building a cement plant, for example, is easier. But sugar plantation, the factory, and it takes much longer time. You are talking about something like 4 or 5 years.
More than 200,000 hectares are put under sugarcane cultivation in 5 states of Jigawa, Niger, Kwara, Adamawa, and Nasarawa states. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
As the federal government intensifies effort in the diversification of the nation's economy, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has commended Governor Udom Emmanuel's effort in boosting agriculture in the state and also called for privatization of the Greenhouse Project for Sustainability. Obasanjo gave the commendation when he visited the Greenhouse Project initiated by Akwa Ibom State Government. Susan Asuko report.
Located along the Victor Atta International Airport, the Greenhouse Project, initiated by the state government, is to encourage the cultivation of vegetables such as cucumber, tomatoes, onions, pepper, cabbage, among others. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who was led by the state governor, Udom Emmanuel, for the inspection of the greenhouse, commended the initiative of the state government. Chief Obasanjo, however, decried the importation of vegetables and other food crops from other countries, while same can be cultivated on the Nigerian soil.
Government should be encouraged for this. You see, one of the things that pained me at one time was to hear that most of the vegetables that they use in Lagos, tomato, carrot, cabbage, lettuce, have flown in. What the government is doing here is very good. I will only encourage the government that as quickly as possible they should be privatized.
He said in the face of a dwindling economy, diversification is key and suggested that the Greenhouse Project should be privatized if it must be sustained beyond Udom Emmanuel's administration. In Uyo, Susan Asukwo, NTA News.
And more on agriculture. In the recent past, the Cross River State government has invested massively in mechanized agriculture, electricity, as well as development of the deep sea port. Paul Abel reports that despite this feat, there are certain areas which demand the assistance of the federal government to promote revenue generation and boost the economy of the nation. The report.
With financial assistance from the federal government to drive the agro-industrialization policy of the present administration in the state, leading to acquisition of heavy-duty agricultural equipment, residents are also keen into this agricultural agenda, which is also in line with federal government policy. This indicates hope for food security in the country. The Bakassi Deep Sea Port project now only needs the President's sovereign guarantee to legally usher in investors for full participation, while a 23 megawatt power plant, which has been completed, also needs the input of the federal government to make it commercially viable for the state government.
Is that the Bakassi Deep Sea Port is a reality that has come. It assists Nigeria to have an alternative maritime gateway for strategic and security reasons. It is a project beyond the carrying capacity of the state, but we believe that if federal government holds us through the process by supporting us with a sovereign guarantee, that will quicken the process.
In the area of road infrastructure, though the state and federal government are trying the best, but more still needs to be done.
Calabar E2, some sections of it have already been awarded. For example, from Odukpani, from Calabar, it's supposed to be Calabar, Odukpani to E2. But from Calabar, that's Tinapa Junction to Odukpani, about 11 kilometers. Cross River State government has expressed interest to dualize that stretch.
If the synergy between the state and federal government is strengthened to tackle all these basic needs, it will not only help to reduce infrastructure deficit, but also improve the per capita income of the people, which will have a direct impact on the nation's economy. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
And still on infrastructure development, the federal government has expressed readiness to partner Osun State in the development of mining sector in the state. The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adebite, stated this when he paid a courtesy call on the Governor, Boyega Oyetola, in Osogbo. Femi Afariogun report.
Osun State occupies a critical position in the mining sector, and this informs the visit of the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Mr. Olamilekan Adebite, to the governor. The minister, who declares Osun as home of gold, says the federal government is ready to help states actualize its objectives in the mining sector. It describes mining as one sector that can give employment to a large number of youths.
There are some lacunas, there are some genuine concerns from the state, like security, like infrastructure and all that, pressure on the infrastructure. When you mine, there's pressure on infrastructure. So those are genuine concerns. And that is why this committee was set up. So let's look into those areas.
Osun State Governor Boyega Oyetola, who is happy with the plans of the federal government, further seeks the removal of mining matter from the exclusive list to concurrent list to allow full participation of state government in the sector.
I look forward to us moving this direction beyond now to see those areas we can ensure that we're able to seriously develop that sector that has been hanging there for several years. And my own state is even particularly peculiar. I need money to develop the state.
Diversification, especially in the non-oil sector, is one key area Oyetola is looking at to avoid being over-dependent on monthly allocations. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And a new window is now open for artisanal gold miners to maximize benefit from their chosen occupation in a more organized and conducive environment. This is to be achieved through the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative approved by President Muhammadu Buhari. Nura Tanko Wakili reports that the Executive Secretary, Solid Minerals Development Funds, Fatima Umar Shinkafi, disclosed this while on a sensitization visit to Kebbi State.
Joyous moment for the artisanal miners in the area, having cited the end of their years of tireless but fruitless efforts in slavery to the growing pockets of gold dealers and perhaps a return to where they were evicted as illegal miners. There was also a sigh of relief by relevant stakeholders, having envisaged what a comprehensive legal framework, access to finances and equipment, as well as training, could do to an occupation that was marred by a myriad of challenges occasioned by absence of proper coordination. It was indeed a positive signal and a plus to President Muhammadu Buhari's desire to create 100 million jobs in the country through economic diversification. But it was a hectic day for the Executive Secretary's Solid Minerals Development Fund, Hajia Fatima Umar Shinkafi, and her team, having courageously visited some of the mining sites located in hard-to-reach areas. The idea is to carry all stakeholders along in actualizing the presidential initiative aimed at creating a conservative estimate of 5,000 to 10,000 jobs.
Other things giving us and Mr. President sleepless nights is that $500 million worth of gold leave the shores of Nigeria to places like Dubai every year. So we want to keep and lock that money in-house in the country and use it for developing our economy.
I definitely believe that if the way we have seen things are going, we know that a lot of our youth, they will gain employment.
This was preceded by a courtesy visit to Emir of Yauri's Palace and a town hall meeting to sensitize stakeholders on the initiative, and later followed by inspection of proposed secretariat of the initiative in Birni Yauri. The Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Development Initiative is to be run in 5 states across the country, with Kebbi and Osun states selected to pilot the program. In Birnin Kebbi, Nura Tanko Wakili, NTA News.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with former governor of Oyo State, Isiaka Abiola Ajumabi, on his 70th birthday, joining his friends, family, and associates in celebrating the milestone. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulates the former governor for many years of outstanding achievement in both the private private and public sectors, leaving behind a legacy of excellence in places is served, especially at the aims of affairs in insurance and all sector companies. President Muhammadu Buhari believes Ajumabi's forthrightness, patriotism and passion is working for the good of the country, and humanity will continue to stand him out as a resourceful manager, exemplary leader and patriot, while commending his contribution as a senator and a governor. You're still watching the news at 7 on NTA International. A break beckons. When we come back, there'll be more news. Just stay tuned.
NTAI has gone mobile. Catch your favorite programs anywhere in the world by going to Play Store on Android and App Store on iOS. Search for Vision TV UK, download and install. Then you're good to go.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Many thanks for staying tuned. And culture is a defining identity of a people. And this explains why each generation tribe to imbibe in its younger ones their cultural heritage. The Mada people in Nasarawa State have this unique culture they showcase every year. They are. Austin Ayebe reports on one of such gathering in Apple Settlement. Let's see this.
Mada people are predominantly in Akwanga local government area in Nasarawa State of Nigeria. Though an agrarian community, the people have a rich cultural heritage which is passed from generation to generation, or which the gathering in Apo is aimed at teaching the young ones born in the city some aspects of the Mada culture. The Mada people cherish peace and unity wherever they are, as religion and ethnic differences witnessed in some parts of Nigeria do not affect their harmonious, peaceful coexistence.
And the cultural activities in Madaland promote unity of the youth. Whatever that has been there for long, during the cultural activities, we have to forget about it and unite under one umbrella. Even if there is any grievances, every gathering like this, our elders will tell our youths not to put one another in mind.
But we celebrate together. We call ourselves into one umbrella to celebrate together, so that to advise and encourage all the Mada people and the youth.
Right from our history, Mada people, they are humble, as you can see, they don't make trouble.
The of our culture, I think our food, the way we act, you can even see it, the way they display. I'm very, very sure most of the people that are here are not my tribe.
They use the occasion to appeal to government to continue to foster unity among the diverse people of Nigeria. In Abuja, Austin Ayebe, NT News.
Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, says the marking of the properties of the convicted former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzor Kalu, is to ensure that they are not dissipated. Following the December 5th, 2019 order of the Justice Muhammad Idris sitting at the Federal High Court in Lagos that Kalu's company, Solok Nigerian Limited, be wound up and all assets forfeited to the federal government. Kalu is a senator representing Abia North in the National Assembly, had been arraigned alongside his company, Solok Nigerian Limited, and Ude Udeogu is Director of Finance and Account at the Abia State Government House over an amended 39-count charge bordering on conspiring and diverting the sum of 7.65 billion naira from the coffers of the state. The court found him guilty and sentenced him to a 12-year jail term and the winding up of his company as provided by the law, and all asset forfeited to the federal government. And up next is The World in 6 days.
Glad to have you join us on another week's edition of World in 6 days, where we bring you highlights of happenings around the world. Let's begin with this heartwarming news from Rwanda. The Janssen pharmaceutical companies announced that they are providing up to 200,000 Ebola vaccine regimens to the Republic of Rwanda. The vaccine uses a viral vector approach, where a virus is genetically modified so that it cannot replicate, but can safely express key proteins of the target virus. A prime boost vaccination is an established approach for the prevention of other infectious diseases. The objective of this vaccination program is to create a protective barrier preventing the Ebola Zaire virus from impacting Rwanda's citizens and from spreading further in Africa. And from New Zealand's volcanic eruption, 2 bodies are still missing from the incident which killed 16 people. The risky recovery operation, which began at daybreak, required the team of 6 men and 2 women to wear special clothing and breathing gear as protection from toxic and deadly gases. Scientists had warned the recovery teams that a single inhalation could prove fatal from cases still lingering on White Island. Also in the week under review, Finland appointed a 34-year-old as Prime Minister, who is considered the world's youngest head of government. Sanna Marin is one of the only 5 women among the European Union's 28 current leaders. She leads a left-wing coalition whose 5 parties are all led by women, 3 of whom are under 35. Her cabinet will contain 12 women and 7 men. And from Tanzania, President John Magufuli pardoned more than 5,000 prisoners as the country marked her 58th independence anniversary. The head of state made the announcement at the Kirumba Stadium, where the national celebration took place. Niger within the week lost 73 Niger soldiers in an attack on the military camp near the border with Mali. A substantial number of the terrorists were also neutralized in the attack, which also left 12 military personnel injured and others missing. And from Algeria, polls have opened in a controversial presidential election, with critics saying all candidates should be purged because of their ties to the unpopular former government. Thursday's vote is the first since former President Abdulaziz Bouteflika was forced out in April after a 2-decade-long rule in the wake of a nationwide peaceful protest. And in the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson stunned political pundits by leading his Conservative Party to score one of the country's most dramatic electoral victories in decades. The result is a vindication of Johnson's strategy to campaign on a single promise to get Brexit done. It was a crushing defeat for the opposition Labour Party, whose leader, Jeremy Corbyn, said he will step down after a process of reflection. That's it on the segment. My name is Ilyasu Ali Yakubu. The news continues.
And to sports now, Nigerian boxers have continued to prove their mantle in international fight. This is coming from Kamaru Usman, popularly called Nightmare, who defeats his United States challenger Colby Covington via a unanimous decision to retain his UFC welterweight title. The Auchi-born UFC star beat Tyron Woodley earlier this year to become undisputed UFC welterweight champion. And up next is weather for Monday. Let's see. Many thanks for watching the NTA International News.